Get a raise. Order. Good morning, everybody. I'm Kim Ledley. I'm acting clerk for the meeting today. In the absence of a chairman and a vice chairman, the committee needs to elect an acting chairman from among the members present. For the purpose of this meeting today only, the floor is now open for nominations. Mr. McGuire.
Thank you, Acting Committee Clerk. I would like to nominate Lisa Lachance, the longest at everyone here. She has the most experience currently as Deputy Speaker, so I think she would do a fantastic job in the role.
Ms. Sheehy Richard.
Thank you, Acting Chair. I would nominate that Kent Smith take the chair today.
Okay. All in favor for...
Can you record a vote on it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything else, everything can be recorded.
Everything can be recorded.
It's not a Smith, and ask people to raise their hands in favor of...
Council says we don't need to record a vote because it's really technically not a motion. So all in favor of Ms. Lachance, please raise your hand. All in favor of Mr. Smith? Mr. Smith will be taking the chair today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. I'm going to call a 2-minute recess, please, just so I can consult with the clerk on the agenda for today's meeting. Order, please. I call this meeting to order. This is the Standing Committee on Public Accounts, with the topic today being the 2023 report on the Auditor General, follow-up of the 2018, 2019, and 2020 performance audit recommendations. My name is Kent Smith, and I am the acting chair for today's meeting. I would like to remind everyone to please put their phones on silent. I see you, MLA Coombs. Just 1 second, please. We're going to start the meeting with introductions. So I will start with to my left and ask MLA Palmer to begin.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Chris Palmer, MLA for Kings West, and it's great to have you here this morning. Thank you.
Good morning, I'm John White. I'm the MLA for Lakes Bay and Dominion.
Good morning, John A. McDonald. Pardon me, John A. McDonald, the MLA for Hants East.
Yeah, I know.
I'm Melissa Sheehy-Richard. I'm the MLA for Hants West. Welcome.
Lisa LaChance, MLA for Halifax, Sable Island.
Good morning and welcome back to many of you. Kendra Coombs, MLA for Cape Breton Centre, Whitney Pier.
Good morning, everyone. Brendan McGuire, Halifax Atlantic. Good to see everybody.
Good morning and welcome, Tony Ince, the MLA for Cole Harbour.
Thank you, everyone. And to make it official, I'd like to make a note that we have representatives here from the Auditor General's office. We have Mr. Gordon Hev, Chief Legislative Counsel, and we have Legislative Committee's office and the clerk, Acting Clerk Kim Ledley as well. At this point in time, I'm going to invite the witnesses to introduce themselves, but not go into your opening remarks just yet. We'll get to that part in just a moment. So I'll start at my farthest left, Ms. Anderson.
Good morning. My name is Andrea Anderson. I am the Public Service Commissioner for the Public Service Commission.
Good morning, everyone. Deputy Minister for the Department of Agriculture, Loretta Robichaud.
Good morning, Tracey Tewheel, Deputy Minister, Department of Community Services.
Good morning, Candace Thomas, Deputy Minister of Justice.
Thank you very much. At this point in time, I will recognize the member for Cape Breton Centre, Whitney Pier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that we add 5 minutes to the meeting that it took for us to get sorted today.
There is a motion on the floor to extend the meeting by 5 minutes. Any discussion on the motion?
We would support.
All those in favor of extending the meeting by 5 minutes?
Recorded vote.
There's been a request for a recorded vote. The motion on the floor is to extend the meeting by 5 minutes. I will ask the clerk to take over the recorded vote.
Mr. Palmer?
No.
Mr. White?
No.
Mr. McDonald?
No.
Ms. Sheehy-Richard?
No.
Ms. LaChance?
Yes.
Ms. Coombs?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Ince?
Yes.
The motion is defeated. Oh, and Mr. Smith?
No.
The motion is defeated.
Thank you very much to the clerk. So back to the meeting at hand. Thank you, everyone, for introducing themselves. I believe that there are some opening remarks from our honored guests here today. So I will turn to Ms. Anderson to start with her opening remarks.
Good morning, and Mr. Chair, thank you, and committee members. Thank you this morning for the opportunity to provide you with an update on the Office of Auditor General's May 2019 Diversity and Inclusion in the Public Service Audit recommendations to the Public Service Commission. With me from the Public Service today is Tracey Thomas, Executive Director of People and Culture, along with leadership staff responsible for specific PSC programs and initiatives. In May 2019, the Office of Auditor General provided 8 recommendations relating to diversity and inclusion in the public service. Of the 8 recommendations, the PSC is accountable for completing 7, of which I will update today. My colleagues from the Department of Agriculture, Community Services, Justice, joining me today also share a role in 3 of the recommendations. Recommendation 1.1, develop and use a plan for EDIA strategies. Our Altogether Action Plan for Diversity and Inclusion in the Public Service was released in 2020. We support all departments in implementing this plan at a departmental level through consultation, workforce assessment, and goal setting. Recommendation 1.2, develop and use evaluation plans and progress reporting. The annual Moving Towards Equity has moved online to better capture departmental progress. PSC is also using the Global Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion benchmarks, tiered evaluation standards to measure the progress of the Altogether Action Plan and Employment Equity Plans. Recommendation 1.5, PSC, Agriculture, Community Services and Justice staff must complete and track mandatory training. Mandatory training includes several EDIA and respectful workplace offerings that are assigned to all employees through the learning management system. I invite my deputy colleagues from these departments to speak to these recommendations with the conclusion of my remarks. Work on the 4 remaining recommendations continues and will be completed December 2023 reporting period. These include Recommendation 1.3, establish a process to identify, collect, and analyze data for EDIA programs. The PSC has adopted the Global Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Benchmark Standards to measure progress on the Altogether Action Plan and to evaluate and assess departmental EDIA work. The 2022 Housework Going Survey has concluded and includes valuable information provided by equity-seeking employees. Recommendation 1.4, develop a process to assess employment equity and respectful workplace policies. And to date, we have completed the employment systems review to identify barriers faced by equity-seeking groups and embedded respectful workplace policies in our leadership development program. Recommendation 1.6, evaluate how access to training is for staff and develop a process to ensure training is retaken. We have converted many in-classroom EDIA training courses to online options to make it more accessible to employees, and also have developed and are finalizing training guidelines. These courses include microaggressions, unconscious bias, understanding privilege, and we will soon add the sexual orientation and gender identity course also. Recommendation 1.7, PSC will work with Agriculture, Community Services, and Justice to develop, implement, and review HR practices to identify and remove barriers to employment, retention, and advancement for members of equity groups. We have partnered with 2 pilot sites, Public Works and Communities, Culture, and Tourism and Heritage, to implement their employment systems reviews. Mr. Chair, I am proud, and I say very proud, of the work that my deputy colleagues and my teams and these departments to support this important work, and they will speak to their initiatives. I am happy to answer any questions the committee may have in relation to diversity and inclusion and the Public Service Commission.
Thank you very much. Deputy Minister Robichaud.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair and committee members. I'm pleased to be here on behalf of the Department of Agriculture to talk about the work to support diversity and inclusion in the public service. I'm joined today by Heather Hughes, Executive Director for Policy and Corporate Services. We believe Nova Scotians should see themselves reflected in their government. We also need people in diverse backgrounds, perspectives, and experiences at the table, informing policy development and helping build programming from the ground up. That is why our department has undertaken a number of positive actions to promote diversity and inclusion. I'm happy to say since 2021, our Regional Services Division established a diversity and inclusive team consisting of a senior diversity specialist and an African Nova Scotian coordinator. The team focuses on providing agricultural programming and services to diverse communities. And in September, we hired a Director of Engagement, Equity, and Belonging to bring further leadership to our diversity and inclusion efforts. We continue to support the growth of our employee diversity committees by encouraging staff members to participate in internal committees, on both internal committees and in interdepartmental employee networks. To know where we want to go, we need to have a good assessment of where we are now. That is why we have worked with the Public Service Commission to participate in a review called the Global Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Benchmark. We're also about to start an employee systems review looking at hiring policies and practices and the work environment with a focus on equity. That work will help us develop diversity and inclusion plan alignment with the Public Service Commission's All-Together Action Plan and employment equity policies. We aim to have this work completed by the end of the calendar year, and I would like to note that we already have a number of designated positions to help Workplace to be more representative of our province's population. And we've expanded our Black Youth Program to the Truro area to create more opportunities for students to come work with us, to promote careers in agriculture and other departments in government. Another piece of work focuses specifically on accessibility, and in February, we started working on an accessibility implementation plan. We aim to remove barriers in our programs, our services, our workplaces, and line up this work with the government's accessibility plan. While our focus today is diversity and inclusion in the public service, I want to quickly note that the Department of Agriculture also supports these priorities in the industry. We have scholarship programs, summer internships in place, specialized lending programs, a list of programs for underrepresented populations in the agricultural sector. Our department is proud of its ongoing efforts to advance diversity and inclusion, and I look forward to sharing more and answering your questions today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister Robichaud. Deputy Minister Tawil.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here this morning. The Auditor General's report and action plan is an important reminder that each of us have a role to play as leaders and as individuals to consider the common and the unique experiences of the people we serve. I'm very pleased to have joining me here today Sandy Graves, Associate Deputy Minister, and Sonia Murphy, Director, Inclusion, Diversity, and Community Relations Division at DCS. Since June 2020, our department has been focused on advancing work on a comprehensive anti-Black racism strategy. Additionally, we are currently onboarding a team of centralized hiring specialists that will work within DCS and in partnership with the Public Service Commission to ensure fair and equitable hiring practices that eliminate inherent bias in our process. We have an active Inclusion and Diversity Committee that is implementing its strategic plan. We have recently changed our hiring practices to ensure that more members of designated groups, including Black and African Nova Scotians, Indigenous persons, and members of the 2S LGBTQIA+ community, are provided opportunities within the department. Our strategy includes a focus on personal accountability, restorative approaches, and system accountability. This includes applying an Afrocentric lens to all of our programs, services, policies, and procedures to identify and address bias and barriers. We have also established an Afrocentric child welfare unit within Child and Family Wellbeing. This team is a critical and necessary step to ensure families and children are supported in culturally responsive ways. Change of this magnitude is not easy, and our commitment is long-term. I'm grateful to our team and the dedication they have shown to building a province where people can feel safe, respected, and supported. And I'm happy to be here and take your questions.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. Deputy Minister Thomas.
Mr. Chair, committee members, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity as well to be here joining you today with my colleagues from the Public Service Commission and the Departments of Agriculture and Community Services. Before I begin, I want to acknowledge the province-wide, multi-governmental, jurisdictional, and sectoral response to the wildfires and your important roles as MLAs, especially in supporting your constituents during this time. I want to also introduce my Department of Justice colleagues who are here with me today. Bill Trask, Executive Director of Policy and Information Management, Emmanuel Itive, Senior Advisor, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion, and Don Stegan, Executive Director of the Accessibility Directorate. Mr. Chair, increasing diversity within the Department of Justice in a meaningful way and working to advance equity and inclusion throughout the justice system is a priority for Minister Johns, for me, and my entire senior executive team. We are striving to ensure these values permeate throughout the department at every level, leading by example, with more than 35% of our senior leadership team representing diverse groups. Our work is guided by the department's 2019-2023 Diversity and Inclusion Action Plan, which contains 5 focus areas: recruitment, retention, advancement, commitment to a culturally competent and inclusive work environment, and a commitment to deliver culturally responsive programming and services to the populations that we serve. In 2021, we launched an EDI, Achievement and Efforts Tracking tool, that allows all divisions to set and track goals, efforts, progress, and achievements related to the action plan. Emmanuel is leading the development of our next 4-year Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Action Plan, and this work is well underway. In her April update to the 2019 performance audit, the Auditor General identified one Department of Justice recommendation as incomplete, namely the requirement to work with the PSC to develop and implement formal processes to review human resource practices to identify and remove barriers to employment, retention, and advancement for members of the designated groups. The department's Equity Employment System review has recently begun. We anticipate completing the first review by the end of the calendar year. I am confident the findings of the review will reflect the significant work the Department of Justice is doing to identify and remove barriers to employment, as well as improve and advance retention for members of the designated groups prescribed by the Public Service Commission. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I would like to say thank you to all of the supporting team members who are here with us today, and advise that if any questions are directed towards the team members that are seated in the back rows, to please come up to the microphone that is open on my right to answer the questions. So at this point, we'll open the floor up for questioning. This committee works in a 20-minute breakdown, so each caucus gets 20 minutes. We begin with the Liberal caucus at 9:21. I recognize the member for Halifax Atlantic.
Thank you, everyone, for being here today. The Office of Equity and Anti-Racism was something that was put up by the previous government. It actually received not just provincial but national recognition for the work it was doing. And one of the first things this government did when they got into power was dismantle that department. And I want to, the importance of that department to oversee and implement equity and inclusion throughout all the departments was extremely important. We know what happens when departments self-regulate. We get into situations like we've seen in the past. And I'm going to tell you something from personal experience. When I was younger, I was a foster child. And when I was a foster, and this does not reflect on the Department of Community Services now, I know Ms. Tweel, but when I was young, I was a foster child. And back then, there was a lot of different group homes. And it was after you, as Ms. Tweel would know and some would know, once you hit a certain age, it's very hard to be placed in the family. Nobody wants a kid that's already set in his way. Everybody wants the young, cute, cuddly, And so I remember my social worker at the time, who's long since retired, said to me I was acting up particularly bad at one foster home. And a good friend of mine, Fabian, and I, who he just happened to be a foster child also, was sent to the home for colored children. And at the time, my social worker had a sit-down meeting with me and said, you need to get your blank together, or we're going to put you in the home for colored children. And do you know what they do to children there? So that's what happens when people self-regulate. That's what happens when departments self-regulate. And they're told that they have to implement these things, they have to be just, they have to be inclusive, and they have to protect people. What ends up happening is, instead of protecting the people that they're made to protect, the departments are made to protect, a lot of times they protect internally. So I was floored, and I say this knowing that I'm not, I'm a white man, right? So life's been pretty darn easy for the most part for me, compared to a lot of other people. But I say this, like, I was stunned when this was one of the first things the government did, because this was progress. We know that there was no consultation on this stuff, no consultation, that it just happened. So I want to know what the reasoning behind dismantling that department was, and going back to a history of trusting departments to self-regulate. We know that the justice system, when it comes to Indigenous, when it comes to African Nova Scotians and people of different cultures, we know the history of the justice system. We know that there's more African Nova Scotians per capita in the justice system than out in the general public. And we know that now that this is under the Department of Justice causes issues. And, you know, a good friend of mine, Kirk Johnson, I've known Kirk my whole life. If you had to ask Kirk to go to the Department of Justice to deal with the issues that he had to deal with, or does he trust the Department of Justice? I can guarantee what his answer is. So I don't understand why this department was dismantled, and on top of it, put in a department that, no offense to you, Deputy Minister, that historically, a lot of the populations in this province do not trust. So I know like part of the answer is going to be, well, we need to build trust, we need to build this, but we've had generations to do this. And the reason for a standalone department was to say that this was free of the Department of Justice, it was free of the Department of Community Services, it was free of the Department of Health. And so what was the reasoning behind doing this? And then what was the reason by putting in the department that historically African Nova Scotians and the Indigenous community do not trust?
Deputy Minister Tawil.
No, it's not Community Services, obviously. It's Department of Justice.
Deputy Minister Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The first thing I will say is that the Office of Equity and Anti-Racism has not been dismantled. It is now under the Department of Justice, but it is fully under the Department of Justice with its full mandate that it was set up with. And very proudly, we can say that there is a great degree of alignment with the mandate and the work of the Department of Justice and the Office of Equity and Anti-Racism. So we are continuing that work, and I should have noted at the outset that I am also the Deputy Minister, obviously, of the Office of Equity and Anti-Racism. It has only been since May 23rd that this change has occurred, so we will all have to get accustomed to that. But the Office of Equity and Anti-Racism, the legislation that the all-party committee worked on, the strategy that has to be implemented this year under that legislation is all moving forward. All of that great work is happening. All of the people, the team who were part of that work are still there. They're simply now working in concert with Justice, and I think it might give them actually a higher profile to be attached to a department that already does work across and throughout government, and whose mandate does touch upon a lot of the work that has to happen within our society to keep us safe, and as we are all working towards a more just society. I hope that answers the question. Thank you.
MLA McGuire.
So the question is, why was the department, which was a standalone department, what was the need to take that and dismantle it as a standalone department and put it in a department, the Department of Justice, where, whether it's true or not, the perception could be that there's influence from the Department of Justice, a department that historically a lot of people don't have faith in, right? You are the Minister of Justice, and you're also the Minister of Equity and Anti-Racism. So I just want to know what the thought pattern was. Like, this department only existed for a quick moment in time, and then the government came in and said, you know what, this is not working on its own. And now we need to put it into a department where there has been issues. So what transpired there to make this happen? Sorry.
Deputy Minister Thomas.
Mr. Chair, and thank you for the question. However, it would be more appropriate to ask that question of government. As Deputy Minister, I would not have been party to the rationale and the reasoning for making the organizational change in a government department. Thank you.
MLA McGuire.
As Deputy Minister, who first approached you about this merger? Somebody must have approached you and said, you know what, this is happening, someone within government. So who first approached you as Deputy Minister and said, you are now the Minister of both, and we're merging?
Deputy Minister Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would have first been told this by the Secretary to Cabinet. So Deputy Minister, I'm losing my train of thought.
Langley.
Yes, Langley. Deputy Minister Laura Lee Langley.
I recognize the honourable member for Cole Harbour.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you and welcome, everyone. My first question will go to the Commissioner of the Public Service Commission. And could the Public Service Commissioner please comment on whether the PSC was consulted with the decision regarding the Office of Equity and Anti-Racism moving to the Department of Justice? And if yes, was your opinion or recommendation, what was your opinion or recommendation in regard to this choice?
Ms. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for that question. No, I was not consulted.
MLA Ince.
Thank you. Can the government please explain, or any members, because you're working for the government now, let me take a breath, because this is a very sensitive issue for me. It's one that, you know, many of you I worked with in the past on. And I guess I'm a little moved by the fact that, again, as my colleague had mentioned, the department had been moved to the Department of Justice. And the Office of Equity was created with a lens to look at all departments, to align with all departments. There was a deputy minister's table that was to help with that. So can anyone, Deputy Thomas, Commissioner, tell me whether or not that table still exists? And again, was the community consulted?
Deputy Minister Thomas.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. The best that I can answer that as far as the community being consulted, I don't think it would be the norm to consult with community on organizational governmental changes. So I suspect not. But again, a question for clarity and confirmation should be put to government for that. And the alignment of deputies, all deputies, we're constantly working together. We work together on a regular basis. All of our work cross-cuts each other's departments. There are no silos in the work that's being done in government. Those days are long gone. And I can say that we work across government very closely. It's wonderful that I get to sit here this morning with 3 of my colleagues. But I can say that as required, yes, all of the departments, we call ourselves social departments, that have direct impacts with African, Nova Scotian, Indigenous, and other communities, we do come together to have conversations around the work and the mandates that impact those communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy. MLA Ince.
You know, as was mentioned earlier, the justice system and the Department of Justice both have racism ingrained within the institution and the structures. I know everyone is working very hard and diligently on trying to correct that and lessen the influence of that. However, again, the office, even when it was created, did extensive consultations and research with all communities that are affected by diversity and inclusion. And again, to hear that not even whether or not they were consulted on whether it should be changed, there should have been some communication, involvement with community, because this is something that is integral to our community and the Indigenous community, LGBTQI+, all of those communities, and not to, you've already answered that. Let me ask, what is happening now in terms of consultations and working with those communities?
To Deputy Thomas. MLA Ince. MLA Ince to Deputy Thomas. Deputy Minister
Thomas, Anderson, Deputy Tweel, anyone.
We'll start with Deputy Minister Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for that question. Engagement with communities is also, it's ongoing. It should be seamless and will be seamless with community that there has been any structural organizational change with the Office of Equity and Anti-Racism, because the work of the office continues. So right now we have been in community engaging with respect to the strategy. And we are also engaging across government for input on what that strategy under the Dismantling Hate and Racism Act will look like. So I would suggest that we do it, government, Department of Justice, all departments are engaging on all of the key priority areas that we're all working on. And we make sure that we are in community on a regular basis and helping to build the trust as well amongst community. And I agree with you. Systemic racism, anti-Black racism, anti-Indigenous racism, homophobia, all those things are real in all of our structures in society. And we're all working diligently and with every effort and together to help dismantle all of those problems that we do have in society. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you prefer answers from other witnesses, MLA Ince?
Yes.
Ms. Anderson.
Yes, thank you. And in response to your question and follow up with Deputy Thomas, the Public Service Commission does work in tandem with the Office of Equity Anti-Racism. We meet monthly with that office, and actually they took part in the consultations for the employment equity policy. So we do work together regularly on a regular basis. We have members of our equity team at the Public Service Commission that meet a committee that they get together and consult on projects and initiatives at the Public Service Commission. So there is a connection across government on this work from the Office of Equity and Anti-Racism that does continue.
Thank you. MLA Ince. Oh,
thank you.
I believe Deputy Robichaud would like to respond as well, and Deputy Tuile, okay. Deputy Minister Robichaud.
Thank you very much. Your question really touched on the elements of community outreach, and I'd like to speak to that for a moment, and just emphasizes the collaboration that's taking place across government with regards to this very important agenda item. So in collaboration recently with African Nova Scotia Affairs, Lilno Affairs, Office of Equity and Anti-Racism, Education and Early Childhood Development, African Canadian Services Branch, the Mi'kmaq Services Branch, and the Student Services Branch, we have engaged in diversity initiatives and funding, both federally and provincially in collaboration, to advance this agenda item in a significant way, reaching out as well to Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada's Indigenous Science Liaison Officer and also the FPT Indigenous Agricultural Working Group. And we are continuing to pursue and advance the agenda items on this subject in terms of community outreach and partnership. So it demonstrates all of those departments are at the table, both provincially and federally. I also wanted to speak to the opportunity that was presented at the recent Ministers' Conference, where we had an organized panel for discussion on perspectives of equity-deserving communities. It was highly engaged and participated with some very positive outcomes in terms of movement forward. In terms of partnership demonstration on outreach, I also wanted to mention the collaborative effort between African Nova Scotian Affairs, Education and Early Childhood Development, and our Crown Corporation Perennia, where we supported and developed jointly an application to the Legacy Academy and Heritage Canada for an investment of $500,000 in funding to develop agriculture and food-focused after-school programming for African Nova Scotian junior high school students. And this program has been stood up and it is underway. And I think, again, speaks to the relationship across all the departments in helping to address the issues and open up the barriers that currently exist. We also are very pleased to indicate that we developed a bridge into agriculture. It is in its second year, and this was a horticulture training program, again for African and Nova Scotian adults, in partnership with African Nova Scotian Affairs, Dalhousie Agriculture Campus, Extended Learning, and the Nova Scotia Federation of Agriculture. And they have had their first class of graduates, 17, which they are into their second class now. So again, demonstrating that collaboration across government.
Thank you, Deputy. And I believe the member would prefer to move on to another question. I recognize the honourable member for Cole Harbour.
Thank you for that. We have heard from community, I have heard from community on numerous occasions about large staffing turnovers. In the office, in several of the offices. My question will be to the Deputy of Justice. I've heard that there were a lot of staffing turnovers in your department as well, with regards to those in the last 2 years from our community. Is that correct? And if it is, can you explain why?
Deputy Minister Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm not familiar with that. It has not been brought to my attention that there is any particular amount of turnover in staff of African Nova Scotians. Is that what you're speaking of?
Yes.
I'm not aware of that.
MLA Ince.
Thank you. I just returned from a week in New York at the United Nations for the Decade of People of African Descent. We had a great number of contingents from social society, civil society, and people right across Canada of African descent. I was there, and I thank the government for covering that cost. However, there was no one from the government there. So when you speak about doing all these things...
Order, please. The time for this round of Liberal questioning is lapsed. Please stop the timer. Make it go away. Thank you. We will turn to the NDP Caucus and begin with the Honourable Member for Cape Breton Centre, Whitney Peer.
Sure. I think my colleague had a question, so if the minister wants to take a second to, a minute to answer that, that'd be great.
Deputy. I recognize the member for Cape Breton Centre, Whitney Peer.
I think it was regarding government's show at the UN and participation for the decade for DPAD.
I recognize the Deputy Minister of Justice.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I can only speak for the Department of Justice, of course, but we did not receive an invitation to attend. I would have loved to have participated in that had I had the opportunity.
MLA Coombs.
Thank you. I want to continue on this topic. The office's community network, it has, according to the legislation, has to be created by July 31st. That was the deadline that was set in the legislation. Has it been created, or will it be created by July 31st?
Deputy Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That work is on track, so I fully expect that there will be an announcement for that committee prior to the deadline of July 31st.
MLA Coombs.
Thank you. The Dismantling Hate and Racism Act strategy implementation, from my memory of the budget, was not provided any money. So my question is, how is government expected to implement this strategy, the strategy implementation, without any money allocated?
Deputy Minister Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the strategy is in development at this time, and to the extent that there will be budget requirements in the strategy, it would be presented to government at that time, either through the Treasury Policy Board process or at the time of budget, the next time that the budget is developed. That's the best that I can do. Thank you.
MLA Coombs.
What's the timeline for its development and its final, its finality, I should say, and we will get to see it?
Deputy Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The strategy date timeline within the legislation is July 31st.
MLA Coombs.
My colleagues were talking about the fact that the office, as it was a standalone department, has now been absorbed into the Department of Justice. Does its budget remain the same as it did when it was standalone?
Deputy Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The budget remains the same with the exception that, of course, the Land Titles Initiative work that was under the Office of Equity and Anti-Racism is now back at home with ANSA, so with African Nova Scotian Affairs, and that is something that government heard very loudly, community wanted, that the LTI initiative should stay with or return to ANSA. So that part of the budget has been also transferred to ANSA.
MLA Coombs.
Thank you. Turning to the Public Service Commission, the Auditor General found that this department has failed to implement the recommendation 1.3 to implement a process to identify, collect, and analyze data needed to assess diversity and inclusion programs and initiatives. However, the department's most recent response did not include any target dates or actions and seemed to suggest that the department believes this recommendation was being met. Can you help clarify this?
Ms. Anderson.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. Previously, the Public Service Commission, we did not collect consistent, robust data to measure the effectiveness of our diversity and inclusion strategies, and we did not monitor the progress. So we primarily relied upon the Housework Going survey and the information that we got from the Housework Going survey. We are focused on that area now, and we now have the ability to collect additional data through tools that will monitor, support, and advance on equity, diversity, and inclusion accessibility programs and services. And I'm excited to share with you today some of those tools. And the first one is the Global Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Benchmark Tool. This is a globally affirmed and accepted framework to measure progress on EDI work. Currently, 20 departments have participated in this assessment. Yeah.
Apologies, Ms. Anderson. The member would like to ask a different question, I believe.
Okay.
MLA Coombs.
Thank you. We only have 20 minutes to ask these questions, so I'm going to ask a few, and maybe that answer will come through in the questions I'm going to ask next. How are the current practices meeting or not meeting the recommendations, and also the plans to meet this goal?
So let me summarize.
Ms. Anderson.
I apologize. It's my first time being here, so I get excited to respond. Probably unlike most people, I'm a little bit nervous, but so in response to that question, we do have tools that we have in place that are in the process. Some of them are already in place, I wouldn't go into detail about the Global Diversity and Equity Inclusion benchmarks, but we are also, this June, actually during Public Service Week, we will launch an additional tool called Self-Identification Tool, and which speaks to creating a culture of belonging, where the theme and the marketing of that is see yourself, be yourself. So these are some of the things that we are doing in response to that recommendation from the Office of the Auditor General.
MLA Coombs.
Thank you very much. And sometimes when you give a little bit too much detail, that stuff gets kind of lost. So it helps to just break it down a little bit. Since the audit, the department has released the 2022 Employee Engagement Survey results. How has this data been assessed, and what work is underway to improve upon areas of concern?
So,
Ms. Anderson.
Again, I am so sorry. I so apologize. Even my staff told me that. You're too excited to respond. Slow down. So with regards to the Housework Going survey, the Housework survey going is complete. We've received all the results, and so we have shared all the results of that with departments. I don't know how much you want to hear from the results of that. I guess if you would permit me to flip to it just a little bit, and I can perhaps share a little bit with you if you like, to see specifically what you might be speaking to, or looking for, I should say. So I would say with regards to the Housework Going survey, We've had a little decline in the number of individuals who have participated in that, I will say, but only 1%. Some of the positives of the housework going survey is that 3,556 jobs were offered. We were excited about that. And of those jobs offered, pleased to say that 1,150 of those were individuals who represented equity. So that was a good news story for us. Also, for the housework going survey, 61% of the employees indicated they are engaged, which is 60% is a success for us. So 61% that they were engaged. It's also interesting, you know, if you look at the dynamics, we can also get a sense of that, who our demographics are. And I can just share with you very quickly the demographics. 6% represent Indigenous, 12% represent racialized persons, 8% persons that are Black, 18% persons with disability, 5% newcomers, 13% born outside of Canada, 10% identified as 2S LGBTQ+ community. So we've seen that the individuals who normally in the past may not be so apt to participate in the housework going survey are now participating. That speaks volumes to us as a Public Service Commission to say that the culture is shifting and that people feel that they have a voice and want to be able to respond to the questions that are asked. So I'm happy to share that with you. Do you have further questions from? Okay, yeah.
MLA Coombs.
Yes, first, I would love for you to share that with and table it with the committee. I think it's a great thing to have on record. The department's response to the recommendation 1.4 seems to only relate to the hiring process. So how are employment equity, respectful workplace policies supporting existing employees, and how is this being evaluated?
Ms. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you so much for that question. The respect for workplace, of course, is very important for us at the Public Service Commission. We want all employees to be able to come to the workplace and feel like they are respected, that they can be themselves, and we are endeavoring to foster that type of environment. I do have with me today in the room Executive Director Sarah Bradfield, who has oversight for the respect for workplace policies, and so I would, if the chair would permit, I would like to pass that to Executive Director Sarah Bradfield.
Welcome, Ms. Bradfield.
Yes.
I recognize Ms. Bradfield.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the question, MLA Coombs. I believe it was with respect to the, specifically my part is the respectful workplace policy and consistent application across departments. And I would say that we've been doing that in the daily work of many partners across the PSC and how we engage with departments, but ultimately it is departments that are responsible for setting the culture that is the foundation of the policy. And we provide them with many tools, with resources, with consistent advice and support, which includes, you know, we do it through coaching, we do it through mediation, we do it through facilitated conversations. Unfortunately, it's a little bit different. It's difficult to track and report on in terms of reporting to the Auditor General. So I would say that our dedicated, excellent staff have done a great job of ensuring the respectful workplace policy is understood and that it's applied. We have work to do in terms of understanding what the Auditor General needs to be assured that we are in fact evaluating that consistent application. And we've recently had some dialogue. Okay.
MLA Coombs, 8 minutes, 16
Yes,
seconds.
I know. That's why I'm cutting people off. So I'm just gonna skip over to the Department of Community Services now because time is moving on. So the Minister of Community Services recently indicated that the issue of food at the Doubletree Hotel would be solved in the coming weeks. I'm just wondering, can the Minister provide an update?
Deputy Minister Tawil.
Certainly, yes, I'm happy to provide an update to that question. We are working with the service providers who are operating. That facility is now called The Bridge. And there is, I'm happy to say, there is food on site, and we're working to secure a longer-term solution. So there's an interim solution in place, and we're working on a longer-term solution that will involve local producers and businesses in the area.
MLA Coombs.
Thank you. Could the minister provide an update and timeline on the Child and Youth Commission very briefly, please?
Deputy Minister Tawil.
As the member would be aware, we released a What We Heard report with regards to the consultations that were conducted on the Child and Youth Commission. We heard when we spoke with some particular populations, particular community groups, that they wanted to have a deeper conversation. So those conversations will be occurring in the weeks and months ahead. Once we have concluded that level of consultation, we will then be in a position to bring forward recommendations with regards to a Child and Youth Commission.
MLA Coombs.
Lisa LaChance, please.
I recognize the honourable member for Halifax Citadel Sable Island.
Great, thank you. So I'm just going to really quickly give some background that will sort of inform my questioning. So when we moved back from Ottawa to Nova Scotia in 2008, I started working at the Public Service Commission and then moved on to the Department of Finance. So at that time, I was really involved also in founding the Queer Employees Network. So I was co-chair, the founding co-chair, worked with the Public Service Commission to establish that. We did a lot of work around training. So as co-chairs, we regularly appeared at deputies. Obviously, it was a different group of deputies at the time. But we did, sort of SOGI 101 sessions at the deputies table. We had managers in place who were responsible for looking at issues pertaining to both 2S LGBTQI plus employees. So there was a manager position at the PSC, and there was a manager position at DHW and CCH. And we had a training course. So we've had a training course since 2013 called SOGI 101. So, one of the things that I think I get concerned about when thinking about these issues coming back is that, to be blunt, I feel like there's been a backsliding. Like, I don't think there's any manager position. There's no one, correct me if I'm wrong, these are my questions for you. Do you have someone in your department who's responsible for looking at policy issues regarding 2S LGBTQI communities and people, and the course on sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression? I'm curious, so has there not been a course for a while, or what happened to the course that was developed and honestly would stand well 10 years later? What happened to it?
Ms. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for that question. I am pleased to say that the Public Service Commission, we don't have a manager position. We have a member we have a team now in our Division of People and Culture. And our team, we do have a member of the 2S LGBT community who does provide that lens to all the work that we do at the Public Service Commission. I recognize that one voice does not represent the whole community. Particularly myself, I know as a member of the equity community that I can't speak for the whole community, but certainly it does provide an opportunity to have that lens. And so we do have a member on our team. As regarding the training for sexual orientation, that training is still ongoing, and as a matter of fact, I'm happy to announce that, and so that we can allow others to participate, and more broadly, it will be an online module, so folks will be able to acquire that training and do it at their own pace. Some folk, would like to go on and do it a couple times. They'll be able to do just that. Also, and the other thing that we are also doing is we are updating our guidelines for transgender and gender variant employees. That is also in the process of taking place. So the work is still ongoing. It is still important to the Public Service Commission. We are also in the final stages. We have a draft of our pronoun guidelines, and so some of the tools and things that are in those guidelines we'll be able to share with the other government departments, which will also be instrumental in creating an environment that is inclusive for all people.
MLA LaChance.
Do any of the other deputies want to speak to positions in their department that focus specifically on 2S LGBTQI plus issues?
Deputy Tawil.
Thank you very much for the question. We don't have a designated position, but we do have an inclusion, diversity, and community relations team, and part of their area of focus are looking at and identifying issues in support of the community. So it is an area of focus.
Deputy Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And the same applies with the Department of Justice and obviously with Office of Equity and Anti-Racism. And the strategy, as you are probably aware as well, will have a definition for 2S LGBTQ as far as that strategy work, which will apply across government and with all government sector bodies as well.
Deputy Robichaud.
Thank you very much for the question. We don't have a designated position specifically for 2SLBGTQ position, but I did want to comment that there is a commitment by Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada and the provinces and territories of which we are signatory to the multilateral agreement to participate in programming under the recently signed agreement and considerations for unique and diverse needs of Indigenous peoples and underrepresented and marginalized groups, which would include youth, women, visible minorities, the 2SLGBTQ group, plus people and persons with disabilities. So we are actively engaged in programming specifically for those underrepresented groups, and our target through our minister is that we will have contributions of 2 to 3% of our programming and recipients receiving that programming designated.
MLA Lachance.
And I'm wondering if Commissioner Anderson could speak to the revision of the employment equity policy and whether sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression will be included.
Ms. Anderson.
Yes. So we have been, the policy is under review right now, and so we have been in consultation with our interjurisdictional partners, provincially and territorially. A significant number of them are leaning to legislation once the review is under review right now. We do a lot of work with our departments. We like to align with them because we do work with them. However, we will be making presenting options and recommendations to government.
Order. The time for the NDP Caucus is expired. We will turn to the PC Caucus, and I recognize the Honourable Member for Glace Bay Dominion.
Thank you, Chair. Ms. Anderson, the Public Service Commission noted that to respond to COVID-19 lockdowns, the training sessions were moved online. Understanding that this would make training more accessible to employees, did it result in higher enrollment numbers?
The member for Glace Bay Dominion, to repeat the question briefly.
Sure, thank you. I'm trying to look at you while I'm speaking. I'm sorry for that. I have a tendency to look you in the eye when I'm speaking. I'm asking about the COVID-19 training. As a result of COVID-19, training sessions were moved online. Understand that online training makes it more accessible. I'm just wondering, did it actually result in higher numbers of response?
Ms. Anderson.
Thank you for the question. Higher number of response to the actual training after it went online? Yes. I don't have the numbers with me today, but I can assure you that the numbers of employees who were able to access the training did increase. And you will, of course, you know, with COVID, we also had the flexibility of flexible work arrangements. So that was also an opportunity for us to continue to provide the necessary training that we want to provide to staff while they were not able to be in the workplace because of COVID. Some of them, but there were others, of course, operationally in line departments that had to be in the place of work. But those who were doing flexible work arrangements, we were able to provide training on a continuous basis. So, of course, COVID forced us into that, but it had its good and it had its bad, we'll say.
MLA White.
Thank you. It is one of the good things that came out of COVID, for sure. So I'm wondering if the higher numbers continued in subsequent years, because after the lockdowns, we also were able to go back out and do things as well. So did people continue to train online? Are those numbers still up there?
Ms. Anderson.
I so apologize. Oh, my goodness. You can imagine how my husband feels, eh? But yes, so I will say this in response to your question. Thank you for that. All of our training currently, we are trying to advance it online so that we are able to provide that training to employees across the province. And so right now, in the past, what has happened is folk had to travel into town to take the in-person classes. And so now with online training, there's an increase because we are providing more of it. And we've converted a lot of our in-classroom training over to online training. So it will continue to increase because of that.
MLA White.
Thank you. And moving on to equity service report, are these, how important are ESRs in addressing matters of diversity and inclusion?
Ms. Anderson.
Thank you for the question. I think it's very important. Employment system reviews are very important to understand what the barriers are. As you will recall, one of the pillars, 4 pillars in our Altogether Action Plan is identifying barriers and solutions. Through the Employment Systems Review, we were able to do that. And the participation in the Employment Systems Review, some of those the focus groups were from unique groups that needed to have a voice in that, which is our 2S LGBT community network were involved, African Nova Scotian Affairs women were involved, so all the equity groups were involved in this. So we were able to really get a sense of what the barriers were and then look at the possible solutions. There were several recommendations from that report, and we are still working through those to theme those to determine what our next strategies should be.
MLA White.
Thank you. I was going to ask you, I think you already answered it, to be honest with you. I was going to ask you if there's any key takeaways from the pilot period, and if there's any findings that you'd like to share with us here about the process. I think you probably did that, did you? So I'll move my question over to MLA Palmer.
I recognize MLA Palmer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and it's been a wonderful discussion so far. I appreciate all of you being here. I'm going to go back to Ms. Anderson. You're on a roll, so I'm going to come back to you. I love your zeal. It's wonderful. So just in reference to recommendation 1.3 that recommended the Public Service Commission implement a process of data collection and analysis to address, diversity inclusion programs. You've already talked a little bit about the Altogether Diversity Inclusion Strategy. When some of the research I was doing ahead of time, I was very interested in that particular topic that, and you had also mentioned other programs coming up, like self-identification programs, To Yourself, Be Yourself, I think was one talked about. Yeah, yes, thank you. I was wondering if you could just expand on that a little bit more for me, just to talk about that a bit more, and what's next. Is there anything else coming up on the horizon? But talk about that Altogether strategy a bit more for us, please.
Ms. Anderson.
Thank you for the question. So our Altogether strategy has 4 pillars, and of that strategy, one of them is leadership accountability, leadership development, and identifying barriers and solutions, and then the last one is progress reporting. So for leadership accountability, I would say that the EDIB benchmarks has been very instrumental in that. So this is an opportunity where line departments respond to questions, and we have taken those, and are moving toward equity also. We have aligned those questions with the 4 pillars in our action plan. And then with the GDIB assessment, departments are able to report on that, in which that has been completed. So now they have a benchmark, so that on the go forward, that benchmark is set, that they'll be able to measure their progress on a go forward. Our hope is to do that biannually, so we will be able to measure the success on the things that they are doing in the line departments as it pertains to representation and leadership roles, also in leadership development. So you'll see, we'll be able to track that and be able to have provide information and feedback on that on a go forward.
MLA Palmer.
Thank you very much. My next question will be for Deputy Robichaud. Agriculture is big in my part of the province, obviously in Kings County, and like you mentioned in your opening comments, we need to see ourselves. The province needs to see ourselves in all these departments. But and you mentioned about a position, the Director of Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging. wonder if you could expand on that. Tell us a bit more of that. That position's been filled, you said, back in September, I think you mentioned. And what the role for that individual is going to be in implementing the strategy for diversity and inclusion going forward, and what their roles and responsibilities might be.
Deputy Robichaud.
Thank you very much for the question. Yes, we're very pleased that in August of last year we were in a position where we could hire our director for equity, inclusion, and belonging, and her name is Natasha Gray. She started with the department. She hit the ground running. She has a lot of experience in this area, and she was hired directly into the policy branch of the department because we recognized very early on that to be impactful in areas of diversity, you need to have an individual that actually impacts policy and programs within the department and not a designated position just merely to have a designated position. So Natasha comes well equipped, sits at the executive table on a frequent basis to update us on initiatives that she has underway, of which there are many, and I could go through a shopping list of that. But I think the important thing is that she's very influential in bringing forward to senior leadership items that we need to pay particular attention to, and has inroads in the community, which I think was a big learning for us, in that community-driven initiatives will be impactful initiatives, and they need not necessarily be initiatives that are born within the walls of government and then try to be implemented into community, where we have reached out into community through our director and are getting guidance in that way. In fact, we've hired a mentor in the community who works with our director, and they do things in tandem in the community to see real impact and change in this very important area. I also want to say that in addition to Natasha and her team, because she's building it up, she has hired an engagement manager as well that works with her very closely. We also have on the outreach side of the department in industry development a team there who is made up of a regional manager and 2 extension staff, one who works directly with African Nova Scotians and the other who works directly with the Mi'kmaq community. And this is on specific programming in the community, and we've seen incredible success in that regard. And again, if there's an interest, I'd be happy to share all of the programs that they've stood up.
Thank you, Deputy. MLA Palmer.
Thank you for that. I know I represent the Annapolis Valley First Nations and large agricultural producers there, and they have a big interest in that. So we may be in contact about some of those resources at some point, for sure. And I'm going to pass it over to my colleague, MLA Sheehy-Richard, but I would just like to say thank you again to all of you for being here. We're having a very important discussion this morning, and it's good to see progress is being made. There's still work to do, but thank you for highlighting these things this morning. Thank you.
I recognize the honourable member for Hants West.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to continue on this conversation because I know that position is new, but I wondered, are there any more additional positions that were created also to address matters of diversity and inclusion? And if so, is there any specific details that you can of what their responsibilities will be and how they'll work together, possibly with Ms. Gray or with the department as a whole?
To Deputy Robichaud, Ms. Anderson, or Ms. Anderson. Deputy Robichaud.
Thank you very much. So in addition to the newly hired director, the newly hired engagement coordinator, and the new manager and the 2 extension outreach individuals, we also have designated positions within the department to advance on this very important subject. So I want to share with you just a few statistics of what we've done in the department in this regard. So for example, we're roughly a department of 200 individuals. We posted 55 competitions last year. We had over 1,500 applications to those positions, but we actively requested some of those be designated positions. So we were very fortunate to have Indigenous, African Nova Scotian, persons with disability, and racially visible persons self-identify for those positions. And I'm very happy to say that after the competitions, of which we had 44 new job offers within the Department of Agriculture, that we were very successful and very pleased to bring in renewed skill set from these self-identified groups and hired 9 additional candidates into the department.
MLA Sheehy-Richard.
And can you go into some detail of what those, like what their focus will be in particular, if you have any more of that information?
Deputy Minister Robichaud.
Thank you, and I would be very happy to share some of that information. Of course, they're all in different positions, but I want to focus us on some of the work that's taking place that I think is very relevant because it's impactful in a generational way, which is our agriculture in the classroom initiatives and the great work that these individuals will do to support that. So Grow Where You're Planted was an event that we host with Dalhousie University for African Nova Scotian students. So what I'm to speak to next is all of the different work that they're doing with different organizations to help in community around advancement of these deserving groups. So overnight, they spent 24 hours at Dalhousie University. This is a full immersion into the post-secondary environment, which is hugely beneficial for high school students who customarily don't have that opportunity. We partnered with African Canadian Services Branch, Department of Education and Early Childhood Development, and Dalhousie, and this is about advancing careers. So we really want to see not only the opportunity for the designated people that are working within the department in a meaningful way, but we want to see the impact out in community that individuals are also recognizing there's wonderful careers for them, not only in the Department of Agriculture, but across many departments. And in that regard, we also partnered with Hope Blooms. Many of you would know Hope Blooms, and we provide them through these individuals that we hired with kits so that they can actually learn how to grow and how to produce. And they're a very successful company, as you know, through manufacturing and garden kits with Hope Blooms. We also champion development of the Equity, Diversity, Inclusion, and Accessibility Strategy with Agriculture in the Classroom Canada, and I'm pleased to say we co-chair that national committee now and bring this heightened awareness of diversity to that table. And we're very fortunate as well to have one of our staff members partner on the Immigrant Settlement Association of Nova Scotia to promote foods for different cultures in classrooms, because we have a lot of wonderful new immigrants arriving in the province, and we have dedicated staff, our dedicated diversity staff, who work with them very closely through the Immigrant Association around integration of those foods into the school system. And just to segue, we had the transfer of the meat inspectors that came over to agriculture in January, and many of those are immigrant women who also bring a cultural lens to the requirements for slaughter in abattoirs for meat inspection, which again, our staff are developing policies and plans around that, because it's a whole different way and it's a whole different menu for a whole different group of individuals that have joined us in the province. We also did a series of social media videos for ages 14 to 18 to promote modern views of agriculture and ag careers, specifically focused on diversity. So those are wonderful videos that I welcome everyone to go online and have a look at. And then we helped build business profiles with our Mi'kmaq diversity employee for both Mi'kmaq and African Nova Scotian entrepreneurs that were inclusive for a resource for the class entrepreneurship grade 12. So they are actually using that right now, and it's a wonderful program that they have in the school. And we also created supports for intellectually disabled adults, and that work is currently underway. So that's just the Ag in the Classroom initiatives. We have many more initiatives, as I alluded to, under our new policy framework, which our minister negotiated for a 25% increase. 2 to 3% of that additional $9.25 million per year will go specifically to diversity initiatives, and we're very excited about that. I could certainly go on, but there's some very good examples, and I have to really say, I do want to end with one more example, which is the Black Youth Initiative that takes opportunities for Black youth outside of the HRM core, which traditionally this is where the programming has taken place. Agriculture was successful in partnering with 6 other government departments to do a rural Black youth initiative in Truro and Bible Hill. We started last year. We had 4 candidates and 2 departments, and this summer we have 15 candidates working across those 6 departments, and it's absolutely wonderful, the outcome that's going to come from that and their exposure to potential careers.
Thank you, Deputy.
Thank you.
The member for Hants West.
Thank you. No, that's great. That was a lot of detail, so thank you. Agriculture in the classroom, my son's in that class right now, actually. I just want to shift gears a little bit so I can get this question in. We've talked a lot about Department of Justice and the importance of diversity and inclusion within there and moving forward and building the trust. So can you talk about why that is so important a little bit?
Deputy Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for the question. Building trust in community, is that the question?
MLA Sheehy Richard.
Well, like how it relates to the fact of the importance of diversity and inclusion within the Department of Justice and how that maybe can tie into building the trust.
Deputy Thomas.
For clarifying. Certainly, it is essential to the work of the Department of Justice that we reflect the communities that we serve, especially if one looks at the overrepresentation of Indigenous and Black populations within the criminal justice system, also within our correctional facilities. It is important that we have that cultural competency and the diversity reflected inside the department as well, so we understand the communities that we're serving. So training on diversity and inclusion, cultural competency in our staffing, and then how we actually interact with communities and populations is critically important, and that does then result in trust being built with society in government and in justice in particular. And we know that it's very far-reaching, the justice system. It's not just correctional facilities, it's also our courts. It's our legal aid, it's Crown prosecutors. So the justice community is broad, and we work with all of our partners to ensure that that equity, diversity, and inclusion element is working throughout and being enhanced throughout.
MLA Sheehy Richard, 45 seconds.
Okay. I don't really have time for questions, so if you want to move on to the second round, that would be great.
Thank you very much. We will move on to the second round, and we base the second round length of time based on how much work we have to do at the end of the meeting after we thank you for being here. So looking at the time, I'd say 5 minutes per caucus is probably suitable for the amount of work that we have to do at the conclusion of the official meeting. So the Liberals will have 5 minutes, and we'll start with MLA Ince.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, I want to state thank you to all of you, because a lot of this work had started, and I would call before me, but also a large part of it started when I was minister. So I thank you, because I've also been in opposition, a little out of touch, so I wasn't aware of all the things that are going on. So really, I'd like to thank you. Secondly, Deputy Thomas, I will inform all of you that I wasn't invited to the forum either. I took the initiative and inserted myself in it. That being said, I will share with you all that the Premier knew, because I had a conversation with him about it. I said he should send somebody. I had the conversation with the Deputy Minister of ANSA, or the Minister of ANSA, and the Associate Deputy Minister. So the government side knew, and my questions are primarily focused on the moves of taking equity, putting it under justice, and then to have, and maybe you can speak to this, or the commissioner or someone, and then to have a complicated issue like land titles, which is primarily mostly justice, to be put into ANSA, to me doesn't make sense. When ANSA, at the time, I don't know about now, didn't have the employees that really had the ability to deal with such a complicated issue. So can anyone explain to me how that happened and what is being what is going on now to ensure that land titles, because even under us, there was a lot of complications in that process. Information was being withheld from us in that process.
So who is that directed to?
It could be the Deputy of Justice.
Okay, so Deputy Minister Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for that very important question. The Land Titles Initiative is a key priority, continues to be for this government as well. The responsibilities for the initiative really are spread across two primary departments. Well, now it's one department. So the Office of Equity and Anti-Racism, Department of Justice, we're responsible for the legal services part, and now that there are external legal services supporting that work, as well as the commissioners. The ANSA side, so the work that has been transferred to ANSA, which is where it started, is the actual surveyors, the navigators in community, the manager, director, all of that work, and the front-facing work of the Land Titles Initiative is now with ANSA. It is complicated, but it is staffed to deal with those complications. There are 3 navigators going into community. There's a manager and a director, as I just mentioned. The legal services has been transferred from Nova Scotia Legal Aid to the private sector with expertise in dealing with real property and land transactions. And again, the surveyor piece, which was with the Department of Natural Resources, is now, there is staff and there's an ongoing contract within ANSA to deal with the land titles specifically so that that work does not get overlooked. So there are a number of resources that have been attached to that work, probably since the time that you were working on it, MLA-ins. Thank you.
MLA-ins.
Thank you. Has there been any consideration about this move? Because, as we know, the move to take equity and put it under justice, as we know, when moves like that are done, the community sees it as a step backwards because of being ill-informed or they don't trust. So can you explain to me what concrete actions are being done to show that you're working on the trust with the community?
Deputy Thomas.
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you for the question. Ongoing, it hasn't stopped. So we are in community. Relationships are very strong with community. The Department of Justice works very closely, for example, with the DPAD, African Nova Scotia Decade for People of African Descent. We have relationships within the Mi'kmaq community, with the disabilities community. Obviously, the Accessibility Directorate is also housed within DOJ, and there's been no diminishment of work on the accessibility file. That work, I think, will be enhanced and will be assisted with OEA coming over because of the long work that has been happening with the Accessibility Act. So it's similar work that's being done with the strategy.
Order, please.
Order.
Apologies, Deputy Thomas, the time. With respect, the 5 minutes for the Liberal caucus expired. The NDP caucus, and I recognize the Honourable Member for Cape Breton Centre, Whitney Peer.
Thank you. I think I'm directing this to the PSC. So I'm going to give an example. I know within DCS, anti-racism training was taken up by 2 white men in previous. And I also know that online modules are being used for training, but there's really no human interaction in those modules. So there's been times where in-person training has been happened by, or is occurring with anti-racism with white individuals doing the training, and then modules that have no human interaction. And I'm just wondering, how are we actually evaluating that kind of training that needs to take place when we have white men, and computers doing that training?
Which is better?
Which is very concerning on both ends.
To Ms. Anderson or Deputy Tawil?
This is to PSC.
Ms. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the question. So we do have staff within the PSC in our Learning and Development Center that represent equity now. In addition to that, the PSC provides equity training to anybody who wants to be a consultant and to provide that training through our leadership development program. They have to undergo training with us first before we approve them to actually facilitate in our leadership development program. So it is encompassed in our leadership development program. And so the facilitators, I would if you would like more detail about that, I would have to pass that to my director who's in the room today to give you detail. But I can tell you that it is still in the classroom. It is still at the forefront, and that we are even taking it one step further by ensuring that those that we bring into the classroom are culturally competent and able to speak to it on a go forward.
Emily Combs.
To my colleague, I just want to make a comment that maybe you can take back, because I know the PSC really does care about this, and that is those that did that training with the white individual felt inadequate. Training was done. And so just to bring that back as I'll take a look-see, and I'm going to pass off to my colleague.
I recognize the honourable member for Halifax Citadel, Sable Island.
Thank you. I wanted to take the chance to ask Deputy Minister Thomas about the implementation of the Accessibility Act. So in the most recent review, there was some delay indicated. When will we see standards in all 6 of the required areas?
Deputy Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for that question. I do have Dawn Stegan here with me, so I'm going to ask her to come up and answer the question. She is the Executive Director of the Accessibility Directorate.
Welcome, Ms. Stegan.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. We are standing up 5 standards presently, and we are on track by the end of this calendar year to be working in 6 standard areas. So our goal this year is that sometime over the summer we will make public the draft standard for built environment. It's required under our Act to be posted for 60 days for feedback. Minister has received recommendations from the Accessibility Advisory Board for an education standard. So departments have begun work on reviewing those recommendations and to begin the drafting. And then we are working with the Employment Standard Development Committee, as well as we will be the first meetings of the Goods and Services Standard Development Committee. We'll start this fall. And then finally, we'll be recruiting for Standard Development Committee on Transportation later this fall. And research has begun on a communications standard. So our goal is that by 2029, all standards will be enacted.
MLA Lachance.
How much time do I have left?
52.
Okay. So I just clarify, in terms of the positions that aren't official but exist in other departments around 2S LGBTQI issues, so are there objectives in job descriptions and educational requirements? So is it actually included in people's job descriptions, and are they being measured on their ability to do that work? We can start with Deputy Minister Candace or Thomas and go down.
Deputy Thomas.
Specifically with respect to the LGBTQ community. I'm going to ask Emmanuel to come up because I don't want to misspeak, but while he's coming up, I do want to say it's everyone's responsibility to do this work. And even though we have a position of a senior advisor on equity, diversity, and inclusion, Emmanuel will tell all of us, and we all share, that we cannot make a difference or a shift in the culture unless everybody is doing the work.
Order and apologies. Okay. The time for the NDP Caucus has lapsed. Mr. Itive, I might suggest you stay close for a second. I recognize MLA Palmer.
I'd like to offer the gentleman an opportunity. Sorry, I forgot your name, but please feel free to answer that question.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Itive.
Sorry about that, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you very much for that question. So yes, in the Department of Justice, we're doing a wonderful job in ensuring that when it comes to the work of equity, diversity, and inclusion, that is moving forward. And like we said, the deputy said in the past, that we have our action plan. One thing when it comes to the work of the LGBTQ we've done is that we've done a lot of cultural competence training in that aspect in collaboration with the PSC. We've done some supplementary training as well. We did one called the Afro-Caribbean LGBTQ training. We've also encouraged a lot of individuals doing self-training as well. And during like Pride month and the Pride week, we definitely take initiative in doing some training as well, education for staff. And one of the things that we do is to make sure that we have resources available for staff to educate themselves. So on our SharePoint side and our IDEA committee, we do provide that resources to staff to ensure that they are being developed in that aspect, including managers and directors as well.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ative. I recognize MLA Palmer.
Thank you very much for that. Just to, I guess, almost not a closing question, but a summary question with the limited time we have. I think Nova Scotians watching today should feel encouraged by the collaboration that goes on between the departments. You say that we're not working in silos anymore, so that's a good thing. So I'm just curious to expand on that collaboration, and if you could maybe all speak to this if you'd like, and to talk about what's the practices and methods going to be used to ensure that your departments continue to work with the Public Service Commission to review HR practices going forward. Is that a general question maybe we could answer? Or?
Ms. Anderson?
All right, we'll start with Anderson.
I was ready to jump in. So, first and foremost, at the Public Service Commission, we have a division that's called the Client Service Delivery Division, and that division has HR business partners, which connect with the line departments on a daily basis. So there's the connection there, so that there's work that needs to be done. But also, in our EDI unit, every consultant in our EDI unit is assigned to a department. So there's ongoing collaboration. Within those departments, the major departments also have their own EDI representatives, so there's collaboration there. We also have a cohort at the highest level across government of EDI advisors within government that also come together and collaborate on this work. There is a great amount of collaboration that takes place. There is a lot of work that happens together to develop strategies and programs and all those things on a go forward. So the collaboration is daily and it's extensive.
MLA Palmer?
Just curious if any of the deputies would just care to respond or answer that in particular at all, or? Okay.
Deputy Tawil.
Thank you very much for the question. I mentioned in my opening remarks that the Department of Community Services is standing up a centralized hiring team in collaboration with the Public Service Commission because of the high number of transactions that a large department conducts, and because of our focus on anti-Black racism, inclusion, diversity, anti-Indigenous racism. We're standing up a centralized team that will look at using different recruitment tools, different assessment tools, so that we shift the complexion, if you will, of our workforce within the Department of Community Services. That is being done in partnership with the Public Service Commission, so that we are adhering to all employment equity regulations, all policies, procedures, and ensuring that our staff participate in training, et cetera, and that we bring in individuals who reflect the population they're serving, but who also come to the department understanding what it means to be a public servant and understanding how important this work is, that it is fundamental to being a public servant. And the last point I guess I would make is that, and I'll take the liberty of speaking on behalf of my colleagues, we sit at a table of deputy ministers, and we are tasked with, on a daily basis, ensuring that this work is front and center. Our performance is measured on this work, and we are challenged every day to ensure that we are working together collaboratively and that we are creating the conditions for our staff to do the same.
Thank you, Deputy. MLA Palmer, 15 seconds.
Well, I would defer to my colleague, MLA White, but I guess if nothing else, again, thank you very much for coming this morning and highlighting this very important topic for all Nova Scotians. So thank you.
Thank you. At this point, the time for questioning has expired, but we do have the opportunity to allow each of you to offer brief closing remarks, should you like. Ms. Anderson, you were so eager to speak throughout the meeting. I'm wondering if you have any closing remarks. Ms. Anderson.
Yes, I do. I do want to say at the Public Service Commission, I'm so proud of the work that we have done and changed the face of the Public Service Commission. And the last 2 years, and I do have data here, but I won't get into the data, I would just say high level, 39 competitions, and of those were filled by 18. Competitions that we didn't designate, and we filled an additional 11 to 12 staff on. So we are continuing to do this work. It is my hope that we will get to the point that we don't have to designate, that we will be so ingrained within this organization, within government, that it will be a top priority, and that we won't have to worry about designating positions, but folks will understand the significance and the importance of having a diverse workforce that actually represents the communities that they serve.
Deputy Robichaud.
Thank you very much. I think you can note how infectious and passionate sitting with Andrea is every week on this subject, and we're very privileged that we have her at the table. I want to thank you. It's been a pleasure to share the work we're doing in the Department of Agriculture to support diversity and inclusion, both in our own workplaces, but also in the ag sector. This work is important, and I can't overemphasize on so many levels. It brings different, diverse backgrounds, perspectives, experiences, and can only make us stronger in our services to our sector and Nova Scotians. We are absolutely committed to advancing this work and continuously improving. Happy to talk about this more in any other venue that people want to hear about what we're doing, because there's some great work happening, and I want to thank you.
Thank you, Deputy. Deputy Tawil.
I would just echo the comments of my colleagues and say a sincere thank you for the opportunity to discuss this very important topic. As this committee and others are very aware, I'm very proud of the work of the Department of Community Services. The work that we do touches lives in very important and sensitive ways, so it is critically important that we support our staff in the delivery of that work, and that the staff in our department reflect those that they're serving. I'm really proud of the work that we're doing in this area. I think it is making a difference, and we're seeing that reflected in the individuals who are applying to work in the department, and the relationships that we're nurturing with the clients that we serve. So again, thank you very much for the opportunity to be here today.
Thank you, Deputy. Deputy Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll be very brief and also say thank you for putting this on the agenda of Public Accounts Committee. This topic is one that has been overlooked for a very long time. It also has been given lip service for a very long time. And I hope we've left you with the impression that we are doing the real work, and the work is being done throughout government at every level. And only when the people that we serve feel it and know it, and the people that work with us feel it and know it, are we going to be successful. But we are accountable for our departments and for the work that we're doing, so thank you for allowing us to be here to speak to this topic today.
Thank you very much to all the witnesses, to those who got a chance to sit at the mic and those who didn't in the back. We appreciate you all being here today on behalf of the committee. A sincere thank you. We will take a 2-minute recess to allow the witnesses to gather their belongings and depart. Thank you. Order, please. We shall resume the Public Accounts Committee meeting. Following our agenda, we have to discuss and finalize the Subcommittee on Agenda and Procedures Record of Decision. So this pertains to what we proposed as the Friday, June 23rd meeting, with the topic being the 2023 report of the Auditor General on Island Employment Association. Any discussion? MLA McDonald.
And the briefing June 21st, correct?
And the briefing June 21st. Let me just clarify with the clerk. I believe that was yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. So there are 3 witnesses proposed: the Department of Labor, Skills and Immigration, Deputy Minister, Office of the Ombudsman, and a representative from NSGEU. Could we have a motion to formalize that, please? I recognize the Honourable Member for Cape Breton Centre, Whitney Peer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that that we approve the 2023 report of the Auditor General on Employment with for the topic and the witnesses being the Department of Labor, Skills and Immigration, Deputy Minister's Office, the Ombudsman's Office, and NSGEU representative.
Thank you very much. You've all heard the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any contrary-minded? That motion is carried. As a sidebar, could someone please close the back door for me, please, and thank you. Moving along to correspondence.
Do we need to approve that? Okay.
Yeah, the question, I believe the question was the other items on the record of decision. They've all been previously approved.
Efficient and effective chair.
Yes.
Here goes again. You did a great job.
Moving along to correspondence. Nova Scotia Legal Aid, information requested from the March 29th meeting. Any discussion on the correspondence? Hearing none. Next item for correspondence, Department of Municipal Affairs and Housing, information requested from the May 3rd meeting. Any discussion on that correspondence? Hearing none. Item 3 under correspondence, Department of Municipal Affairs and Housing, information requested from the May 17th meeting. Any discussion on that? I do have notes that the normal chair, the regular chair for this committee, the member for Bedford Basin, does wish to send additional correspondence to clarify some of the things that we received. I'd prefer to allow her to be in the chair when that takes place. So just note that this item probably will come back on the agenda at a future meeting when MLA Regan is in attendance. Item 4 under correspondence, Department of Public Works, follow-up information regarding the April 12th meeting. Any discussion on that? Hearing none. We will move on to the next meeting date unless there is other business to attend to. I recognize the Honourable Member for Halifax Atlantic.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to put a motion on the floor. I move that the Public Accounts Committee schedule an emergency meeting on the topic of inclusion in our education system, calling on witnesses from the IWK and Inclusion Nova Scotia to appear before this committee and address the ongoing and widespread long-term impact that the strike is having on our children and our loved ones. I'd like to put that motion on the floor.
There is a motion on the floor for an emergency meeting of public accounts with some description of what the member would like to see. I recognize the Honourable Member for Hants West.
With all due respect, we know that the QP region in Halifax is disrupted. We get that, and the concerns of the member. However, they would know that it's an ongoing negotiation. Details are still unfolding, and conversations surrounding that should remain between the employer and the employee. I am a standing committee, like I said yesterday, is not the place to have those discussions. And I would like to say that during the Liberal and NDP governments, they certainly did not bring those discussions to the committee. Those will remain between the employer, which is Halifax Centre for Education, and the employee.
I recognize MLA McGuire and then MLA Lachance.
So I don't know if the members understood what I said, and I thought it was a very clear motion. It has nothing to do with the actual negotiations. If people were listening to the actual motion, the motion was actually to bring the IWK and Inclusion Nova Scotia to talk about when inclusion is not happening in our school system, the widespread impact it has on the individuals. It has nothing to do with negotiations, and I will say there's a lot of misinformation being put out there about who's negotiating and what's negotiation. HRCE is not negotiating. It is the government of Nova Scotia. HRCE is at the table, and they take their marching orders from both the Department of Education and Premier Houston. And this continued misinformation that's being put out there for members to prevent government members from taking the responsibility of having our most vulnerable youth in HRM not being able to get an education shows, quite frankly, Mr. Chair, a lack of caring and advocating themselves over the responsibility they hold. They may not represent an HRM community, and they may not think it's important to them, but it's important to everyone that our children get the best possible future. And with that, I call the question.
I had an order of speakers, MLA McGuire, so I'm going to stick with that. I recognize MLA Lachance.
So, I mean, I'm happy that this has come back to the table, and and also to provide some clarification based on our discussion yesterday. So, I think that I don't think at any time that we've suggested that we negotiate a labor dispute at the table of a committee. That's actually not at all what we've been talking about. So please, let's just dispel that and not keep misquoting us and misstating what our intentions are. What I'm concerned about is the impact on young people. So, as I shared at yesterday's committee, we were reliant on the support of EPAs for several years of my son's elementary school education. And I can tell you that any change in schedule, any disruption was not just about okay, well, then there's 6 hours of the day where, he wasn't engaged in his education or wasn't able to attend. It's actually their whole lives. And the message that we're sending to hundreds of students who are Nova Scotians, and yes, just to say, maybe they're not in your riding, but they're Nova Scotian children. What we're saying is, you're not good enough. We don't care if you come back to school this year. Actually, we don't care if we kind of flush this whole year down the toilet, because that's what happens when young people miss school. So, I shared, I've shared from friends of mine on Facebook, and I shared yesterday in committee, a number of people whose young people are truly suffering. And it's not just about missing this month of school or the next month. It is actually going to have a long-term effect on their development. And so, but wouldn't that be great to hear from the experts about that? So if you don't think this is a big deal and that we can just wait it out and see when we get the most vulnerable kids back to school, but I actually think we are doing an incredible damage to vulnerable young people in this province for whom we are all responsible. And I really think that we need to understand the impact of what's happening, so actually that we can plan remedial action, because this will not be simply over. So I think this is a very important topic. This is not about union negotiations. This is about the health and development of Nova Scotian children.
I recognize MLA Sheehy Richard.
And again, we get that. So perhaps if you wanted to bring that topic up in the next round of discussions and have the Auditor General look into that and have the witnesses called, that would be the time for that. But bringing this topic now before public accounts is not the mandate of this committee. So we would highly encourage that the membership goes back and speaks to their employer and works out a solution so that we can get our most vulnerable back to school.
I recognize, I have a speaking list, MLA McGuire. I recognize MLA White.
Thank you, Chair. What was that? Yeah. Thank you. This has come to several committees, and the fact is, regardless of what you say over there, this is a negotiation that's ongoing with details happening on a regular basis. It is ongoing. It is ongoing. And unlike the member opposite, who will not let me speak while I have the mic, I am not part of a government that has stripped away legal rights for labor. Yeah, take it away, take it away.
Order, please.
There we go.
The member for Halifax Atlantic will bring himself into order, please. I recognize the member for Glace Bay Dominion.
Thank you, Chair. This legislating people back to work, if that's what he's asking for, is an absolute disgrace to do. I can tell you from working through a system that has seen the ongoing damage of such legislation and what it does to people. People still are not back to work normal, not back to doing what they used to
please.
do.
The member for Halifax Atlantic will bring himself into order, please. I recognize your honourable member for Glace Bay Dominion.
Thank you, Chair. It is hard to keep my thoughts straight, but I want to say, I'll name them. Carol, Arlene, Todd. You want me to continue? I'll name a dozen, 500. I'll name them all. The TAs, or EAs as you call them here, that have been in the classroom with me are absolutely amazing people. They surely are. And what you fail to realize, based on your past experience of legislation you've passed, is that there are very real consequences to your actions, very real consequences. There are people, students, that are friendship with their EAs. Is this continued to allow?
MLA McGuire.
He's saying you
order.
failed to realize.
This is disorderly conduct right now. Interrupting the chair is disorderly conduct.
He's not allowed to address me.
You do not have the floor, MLA McGuire. I respectfully request that you maintain order and decorum while the member for Glace Bay Dominion is speaking.
I'm not to address me.
Please. MLA McGuire, this will be the last time that I ask you to maintain order before I ask you to leave the committee. I recognize the member for Glace Bay Dominion.
Thank you, Chair. The party opposite, their actions speak on legislation and strong-handed actions that take away people's rights and have ongoing consequences. When I think of, as I was saying earlier, when I think of Jessie and the students she worked with on a regular basis, my God, there's a relationship there that is second to none, that is being destroyed, and the year-end activities are being missed. That's the problem. I know that's the problem, but misleading is not the answer. This is not the place for negotiations. This is a standing committee on public accounts. It's a rear-looking committee. It's not to deal with current situations. And in your motion, you actually said the ongoing, and then you stopped. That's what you said. So you were talking about the labor dispute, which is not part of this committee here today. It's
MLA order. MLA White, please ensure your comments come through the chair. Please and thank you. I recognize MLA White.
In a very, look, I'm going to tell you how it is. When you're sitting as a union member, I'll tell all you guys how it is. In a union, when you're sitting and you're waiting for a deal to come through, Chair, and it doesn't happen, everybody's heart sinks. You suddenly start looking at your very real personal situation. What can I afford to do? Not as a union, as a member. What can I afford to do? Can I afford a strike? Can I afford putting my faith in somebody else's hands? They had a very real choice to make, which we are allowing to happen, which is the right thing to do.
Order, please. The time allotted for the public accounts meeting today has expired. I would like to note that the next scheduled meeting is next Wednesday, June 14th, where witnesses will be from the Department of Public Works, Build Nova Scotia, and the topic will be the 2019 report of the Auditor General Selection and Quality Management of Bridge Projects and the 2020 report of the Auditor General on contaminated sites. This meeting is adjourned.